I'm Sean Scholler from the Indiana Geographic Information Office, and I have the pleasure of working with a couple folks from Wolpert. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Sure, I'll start. My name is Ryan Bowe. I'll be the project manager from Wolpert this year, and I'll do a little bit of a further intro later, but I will tell you I'm a huge geo geek, so if I say anything that you don't understand or you miss or anything along those lines or have further questions about, feel free to contact me as you go on. I'll pass it over to Brian now.
Yeah, I'm Brian Stevens. Nice to see everybody today and appreciate everybody making time for us. And I will contest Ryan is a geek when it comes to some of this stuff. So, my primary role is to support Ryan on the sales marketing side of the programs going forward. So,
thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Brian. And again, so yeah, this is really a exciting opportunity for Indiana and for our office to be leading this this program. The last program that we were wrapping up was an imagery program from 2021 and to 2024, and that's coming along, closing out a few collections with some counties that decide to buy up for imagery in this year. So, and now this year we're looking at a combination of orthoimagery and an elevation product for Lidar. So let's go ahead and So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of our Indiana's history. And as you can see, we have on the left side there, we have the orthoimagery collections, and then we also have the Lidar. So, you know, we date back to 2005, 2006 collection. Originally, that was a 12-inch, 6-inch hybrid, and then in 2011 and 15. And through each of these years and programs, I really want to emphasize that even back to 2005, we had Indiana worked with local government partners to buy up to higher resolutions. So, you know, Indiana has been, you know, striving to not only have that base product, but also work with, you know, local governments, county and communities and agencies to develop and additional products in higher resolution. So, and then we also have on the right side, we have the Lidar collection. So you can see that 2011-13, that was managed by the GIO office. The 2016 to 2019, that was actually a program that was managed by the USDA and NRCS and the USGS, U.S. Geological Surveys. So through their grant program. So, and then now we're looking at 2025 to 2028. See, on the right side, we have the map of Indiana, and you can see we have it color coded. So in 25, we're going to be starting in this center tier of the state, working and collecting imagery from the bottom of the state. So down there at Harrison County, and working our way up through the middle and all the way up to Elkhart and St. Joseph counties. So, and that really is a unique opportunity for Indiana to leverage our geography in the collection, so we can start flying earlier in the season, you know, probably perhaps 3 to even maybe 4 weeks earlier than and extending that collection. So, and then we'll move into the next year in 2026 to the blue, that eastern side, and then over to the western side in 27. And that's been our program cycle dating back to 2011, that we've continued this cycle through each of our programs. So here, I want to just take a minute to really show appreciation for people that have submitted, you know, some quotes and just giving us examples and of why the state imagery and state programs are necessary. Certainly, we know that elevation and imagery are important. Although, you know, why is it that you know the statewide program is unique, and how does that benefit folks? So these are just some really neat quotes that we've collected over the last couple of years. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the program specifications. So I mentioned a little bit, you know, this is going to be a collection of both orthoimagery and Lidar. The base specifications for the orthoimagery are going to be the same as we had prior, with a 6-inch base product and 4-band. So it's that red, green, blue, and near infrared imagery. And then also we have the LiDAR base specifications. And we started this process by thinking, well, we're going to submit and we're going to target that QO1, which is a USGS term for quality level 1. And the specifications for that is that, as you can see, that 10 vertical centimeter accuracy and a point density of 8 points per square points per square meter. So you only get, and that points per meter is kind of like the resolution of LiDAR. So by increasing that, we're increasing the resolution, the detail, and the sampling of what we'll be able to identify and features for extraction. So Woolpert responded with the request for proposal and said they would be able to provide our buy-up resolution of 25 points per meter. So that's the product that we're going to be receiving here in the next few years. So. And you can see down here is a sample of the LiDAR. I'll have another sample as well, but there's just a lot of detail. So let's talk about, we got through the base specifications. Let's talk about the imagery and just kind of a series of timelines. So you can see, we start kind of, users are familiar with the Google imagery. In showing these, what I want to talk about is that making sure that people understand the intent of what they're using the imagery for. And it's really important to, when we use imagery, are we using it for the appropriate purpose? And that, so you can see on the far left with Google, is it for wayfinding? Is it for just a nice, base map? Or are you going to be relying on it for feature extraction, for measuring, and things like that? So that's where you can see that increased resolution and detail for extraction of features, transitioning from that 1-foot product, which dates back to our 2005 and other program cycles, and now the last couple were down to 6-inch, and communities are frequently buying up to 3-inch resolution. All right, so here's the slide that we have now, and it signifies that, up in the upper left corner, we have the 2011 to 13 up over here. And you can see that this is a QL3 product. So it's 0.5 points per square meter. And you can see it, the detail, you get some sampling, although the detail and that resolution isn't quite there where we'd, maybe like to have it to do, some feature extraction of buildings or vegetation and things like that. And you can see over in 2016 to 2020, that next program that we had in Indiana was a QL2. So we jumped to a 10 vertical centimeter accuracy instead of a 20 centimeter accuracy, vertical centimeter accuracy. And we also increased to 2 points per meter. So you can see that slight improvement in detail. And then in the lower left, you can see kind of that standard QL1 product of 8 points per meter. And now you can see on the right that higher resolution of 25 points per meter. So that's going to be our target for this collection. So hang on. All right. So now I'd like to spend a moment or two talking about our program and the benefits of the program. So first off, I'd like to talk about how we classify it as an authoritative data set. And what does that mean? So it means that we have that defined resolution for the entire statewide product. We have the accuracy that are national standards that are set for this product. We've also have federally adopted standards for this, with the benefit of the USGS on the LiDAR, and we also have that referred to as that professional level QC. Woolpert is going to be providing a vertical accuracy, independent vertical accuracy assessment for this product. Making sure that we meet the highest specifications for accuracy. And then we also have the Department of Transportation Aerial Surveys team that's been working since 2011 on these programs, doing a visual verification of the orthoimagery and now also the Bearer DM and other products that we'll be able to review. All right, so let's talk about managed collectively. So we have the imagery, it's coming in. You know, we have the contract vehicle. So you know, the importance of this is that we can work with communities, and that's where I mentioned in the past, we continue to strive to inform and partner with communities to buy up to a higher resolution. So in this cycle, we're going to have that opportunity to buy up to 3-inch orthoimagery. But you know, that taking the lift off of the procurement. So you know, the GIS person you know, in the county or the city does not have to go through that procurement process. They don't have to manage the QC. They don't, you know, and then we also, you know, you get to take advantage of that coordination, the collective buying power. So you don't have to have the vendor, you know, go out and send a plane just for your county. There are already, you know, we are already going to have assets in the area collecting imagery and LiDAR throughout the state each of these years. See, let's talk about you know, consistently. So we have it's on a scheduled timeline. So like I mentioned previously, you know, our timeline has been the center tier of the state. In year 1, year 2, we jump to the eastern side. Year 3, we jump to the western side of the state. We have that stable negotiated pricing for each of throughout the entire program cycle. So you know, it's there, it's published, and it's available. We have again the standard QC. I need to mention that as many times as I can because that is, you know, really you know, an enormous benefit to this program. And then that consistent distribution. So with that, let's talk about distribution for a minute. So easily accessible. Indiana is proud. We need to be proud of you know, that we have so much GIS data in the open data platform. So I know I mentioned open data a lot there, but you know, we have the imagery services. Those are publicly available without you know, without cost. So we have them. All the products we're developing that. You know, right now we have well, they are available from each of the programs, and they will be. And we're building in also within our tile. But you can see up in the upper right there, we have the DEM the imagery service that's available from 2016 to 2020, and then we also have the footprints that are available for download from our tile grid. So. And then we also have the web maps applications. So anyway, just emphasizing you know, all this information that's collected, and that's where another advantage is if you know, community leverages this contract with us, we incorporate that data into this repository and make it available, and that's a huge lift for local governments not to have to manage the storage of LiDAR and imagery. All right, timeline. Well. Timeline is, you know, starts in January for planning. Really, it starts way before that, right, Ryan? We're not going to wait till January to start, but
right now,
you know,
it starts right now.
Yep, right now. Yesterday.
Yeah.
So anyway, the part I want to emphasize, 2 pieces. One is that there is a overlap in each of these. So you can see, you know, February to April. And then March to August, you know, each of these cycles overlaps the previous. We don't wait till the one cycle is done before we start the next. It is an ongoing process. And then the other is that I want to, you know, really mention is that, you know, partnership building. And that is an ongoing thing. We, you know, this webinar and others, and we, you know, we'll be having some in-person. So if you have a group of people that you would like for us to present to, we are all on board to engaging in your interest group. So please reach out to to me, and we will work with you to inform your users on accessing, or if you if you believe you have an opportunity to partner on a buy-up for higher resolution or additional products. So, all right, let's see, there we go. All right, so well, partners. There we go. The next slide. So, we have the current partners. Our office is the funder and for this, and that's where we are. Really proud to say that our office now has committed funding for these programs on an ongoing basis. We also have our sister state agencies so NDOT aerial surveys team. We have DNR that's looking to partner for some additional products. We also have those federal agencies this time. So we have the USGS and we have the NRCS that are both going to be partnering with us on this. And then we also want to mention local government plays a role in that as well. So those. All right. Well, I've been alluding to this USGS partnership, and let's spend a minute talking about that and what it means. So first, Indiana. I mentioned in 2016 to 2020, that program cycle, we had the USGS managed that program with the funding that was received from the USDA NRCS office. So, but now what you're seeing here on this map of 2024 partnerships from the USGS is that center sliver of the state has been highlighted. So, big kudos. So that was in partnership with the NRCS and USDA and us, identifying that that's the first tier that we want to perform an update. So, but the real benefits to this is that we also are going to be receiving some funding through this grant opportunity with the USGS 3DEP program. And we also really something a big benefit, and it's this LIDAR data set is going to be integrated and accepted and QC'd by the USGS. And what that means is that we're going to be able to leverage additional resources. So just like local government leveraging the Indiana's buy-up program for imagery, we're going to be leveraging this federal program to further supply future resources for delivery and storage of this information. So it's just not about Indiana. Indiana wants to work with our federal partners as much. So all right, Ryan, it's all yours.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to go ahead and start and talk a little bit about Woolpert and what is a Woolpert, right? I know a lot of people have heard of us in Indiana. Obviously, we've done lots of work over the years in Indiana. We've had an office there since 1981 in Indianapolis. But what is Woolpert today, right? So Woolpert is what we refer to as an AEG company, architectural engineering and geospatial company. And one of the things that I mentioned when I talk to people is, we used to be a support service, us geospatial folks, right? And it used to be a support service to our architects or engineers. Well, today we're over 40% of the company, which we're sitting around 2,500 employees. So believe it or not, guys, it's kind of crazy, kind of where we've started and where we've ended up today, and how much more important the geospatial data is to everyday use and just our daily operations that we do for ourselves and our lives. So it's just crazy. But what you see here on the screen is a map of our office locations. So we started out, we were in the United States only. Well, we branched out over the last 10 years or so, and now we're all over the place, as you can see on the map. So pretty crazy. But again, lots of geospatial needs across the world we're seeing, and lots of motivation for that type of services. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, here are some of our partners. Just mention one, ESRI. Of course, you guys are all very familiar with them. We've been a partner of theirs since the 1980s. So one of their first business partners way back when. So very influential and obviously standard player there in that space. Ryan and I are going to kind of trade back off a little bit on these slides. I'm going to let Ryan talk the next few slides, and then I'm going to jump back in. But I do appreciate everybody making time again, and look forward to meeting and talking to you guys more. Ryan?
Thank you. So I'm trying to keep it very high level. Like I said, I can geek out about some of this stuff a lot, but here's the way we're planning on flying this job this year. We're flying it north-south to reduce the vignetting that you'll see when you fly east-west. And it's tiered out and blocked out that it should be easy acquisition, like Sean said earlier. We always hope for the best on that. It's one of the hardest things that we have to do, though. So if you could go to the next slide, please, we'll talk about our ground control points and how we're going to start to densify those. These are the ones that existed from our previous projects, either working with the state or other jobs in general. Some of the county jobs, you'll see some that are more dense than others, but because of the QL1 LiDAR and how we're going to acquire everything, we are going to densify this tremendously. So it will be a lot more than this as well. So if you can go on to the next slide, this is the big fun thing that has, I'm really excited about this, but you see those two holes in the plane down at the bottom right next to the red light? That's because we are actually finally able to co-collect this data. So we'll have a LiDAR sensor and an imagery sensor, an imaging sensor in the same plane at the same time. And what does that mean? Why is that important? Well, it actually eliminates those temporal discrepancies that you may see when somebody flew LiDAR even just a week or a month before they flew that imagery. It doesn't sound like it's that much, but it really makes a difference with all those data sets that we are producing afterwards. Think about water levels, think about your shadows, think about how things on the ground are changing all of the time. And we are going to actually be able to eliminate that. And again, one of my favorite things about this is that because of that acquisition being at the exact same time, we can pretty easily create a 3D point cloud, and that is colorized so that those LiDAR points that are hitting on the various things on the ground will then have a pixel that's associated with it, to show what color that thing is, whether it's a house or a green tree or something like that, or a green bush, I should say, since it's leaf off acquisition. And now I'm going to hand it back off to Brian to talk a little bit more about some of the products that we are creating. So if we can move to thank you.
Yeah. So appreciate that, Sean. But just to emphasize again what Ryan is saying, I mean, to have dual capture like this has always been the dream of photogrammetric companies such as Wolford, right? Nothing that ever married up until today, because we always have either the point density didn't match or the resolution of the imagery didn't match. And it was very much a struggle. And as she's mentioned, one of the things that we always run into because of that, right, was like over on the left-hand side, you see a hydrography map, right? Well, we know water levels change daily, right? So to have it acquired simultaneously is unheard of, right? So Indiana is going to benefit from this process tremendously, right? And what can be captured and what can be basically displayed at that time. So you just see some examples here where we're talking about elevation derived hydrography. Some of you folks out there have probably heard of that term. The USGS program, something that many of the states are looking at doing and utilizing their LiDAR, but just gives you an idea of some of these things that can be derived that are very time sensitive. Impervious surfaces because of development, right? Many communities look at stormwater utilities or have a stormwater utility. They like to be able to maintain it and justify, like, well, how are they billing Joe Public? Well, I'd like to be able to go to that and say, is this your property, sir? Yes. And all those types of things, right? So to be able to use those data sets, to be able to extract out those data sets very accurately and very confidently, is a paramount task. And that is what really provides us the options of having this co-collection done, some of the side benefits, but just a tremendous advantage. Same thing goes with building outlines, right? Similar thing to impervious development, being able to track things like that and not have to, decide, well, which one's more accurate than the other. I flew my LiDAR 2 years ago, but I got imagery today, and kind of playing that game, right? So it's kind of like it eliminates a lot of that and undetermined, situations that either our technicians or our AI ML, as you guys are going to hear more about, over time, right? It's going to be more focused on the actual data itself. Next slide, please. I asked to put this in here because I want to give you guys a little bit of a background. So I talk about AI, ML, I mentioned it in the prior slide, but with orthoimagery, for example, we go through, we fly imagery, we rectify it to a LiDAR surface. And again, I gotta get a little bit geeky like Ryan, a little bit. We'll try to keep it high level anyway. But what this slide represents is we're basically going through a process where we're going to QA, QC all the imagery before it ever gets to the state or to the counties that do buy-ups, right? And those corrections are in the thousands, as you can see these little circles that are on this map for a county that was recently done earlier this year. It just gives you an example, basically, of what we go through and why the process, as Sean mentioned, is authoritative, right? Because it's highly accurate. And because it's highly accurate, next slide, Sean, if you don't mind, we get these things that you've seen like bridge warping, right? Because the surface is held very tightly, which provides very accurate horizontal positioning. But what it does, anything that's elevated, in this example, this is, overpass, this bridge, it warps. So those types of things are called out through our process we have in-house. Basically, then we're doing corrections. So just to kind of give more of a credence to what Sean was mentioning with QA/QC, we definitely look at it very, highly as paramount in our process to collect and to correct as many of these things as we obviously can locate and correct. It is done mostly manually still. There's no really automated way of doing this yet. Again, it's one of those things that we're looking at every day. And what can we do to help improve the process? But it's a very manual process today, and it just takes time and effort. Next slide, please. And just want to get into these next couple slides or to give you an example. We're going to be providing viewers to the state of Indiana and to the counties that do upgrades. And these same tools that you saw in the previous slide, this screenshot, was a process internally that we utilize, a software that we call SmartView Connect. And we use it internally, and we also provide it to our clients. And it allows the user basically to go in and mark up real time, right? We provide these data sets, we process them, we provide them out to the client base. You guys can review, can redline things that you may see that, well, something doesn't look quite right for me here. We can mark it up. We can see those markups immediately in the production house, right, on our side of the business, and be able to give immediate feedback back to the client, whether we feel it's a legitimate, issue or not. And obviously, if it is, it's something that we can look into more, natively more detailed. But just to give you an idea, this software is web-based. It will be provided to state of Indiana, Indiana DOT, as well as any of the counties that do upgrades. Next slide, please. So you have orthoimagery, then you have aerial LiDAR. And this is just another example of how it can be QC'd. So this is a shaded relief map, LiDAR shaded relief of the surface only. And you can see, obviously, the roadways there, the kind of the blocks, the housing, where the housing would be, the mountains, right, the hills in the background. And those are things that can be, again, just like imagery. The red line tool will provide the state and counties an opportunity to go in through and mark up things that they may see that doesn't quite look right to them. It gives us an opportunity then to respond and to help that whole process. So next slide. All right, getting back here to Ryan, I'll let her talk a little bit about LiDAR processing, and then we'll revisit back. Go ahead, Ryan.
Sure. So the calibration and accuracy, remember those ground control points that I showed you? We take those, incorporate that into the LiDAR data set, and we'll make sure that it is where it is in the world. Along with that, we'll classify and filter the data and then produce a bare earth DEM or that we QA/QC. So I'm going to keep this really high level because we're getting through our time here, and so let's move on to the next slide, and we'll look at some hydro flattening, which all this is taking streams that are 100 foot or wider or 2-acre ponds that will then get rid of any of those anomalies that are happening with our topographic LiDAR sensor. And then from doing that, what we'll be able to do is actually produce contours that don't have any false contouring in there, that it tries to go in and get that little tiny piece of floating stuff in the pond, or that got a return or anything along those lines, and then also produces a much better 10. So moving on to the next slide, please. We will be working in tandem with the state and the USGS to produce these LiDAR data sets, and it will be eventually published to the USGS's national map, or Rocky Web or anything along those lines that you've ever used for your current LiDAR data in Indiana, if you're not using what Indiana Map provides and Sean showed earlier. And what I have up on the screen right now is a validation report from USGS. And so it's got my favorite word on it 3 times. I said I was a nerd. It says metadata up there. Those of you who know me are probably just absolutely giggling at me. I hope either that or you're rolling your eyes at me, either way. But we won't get into that or anything like that. I will just tell you that because I love metadata so much and I have worked on USGS LiDAR before, I am going to make sure that it not only fits the USGS requirements, but meets the Indiana or the county that has bought up's need, so that we're not giving you too much or too little. So moving right along. This is our last slide here before we hand it back off to Sean. But basically, I really want to say that I am thrilled to be back in the state working with you. I've done a lot with IGIC and things like that. That's the Indiana Geographic Information Council. But to actually be working in the state again is fantastic. I got to do it previously and I loved it. And so we want to come out and talk to you, see what needs you have along with the state so that we can make sure that you can geek out as much as we do about this stuff and really enjoy the data that we're producing with the state. So Brian, anything else you want to say before we hand it back to Sean?
No, I don't think so. I think, Ryan's conveyed it well. We definitely look forward to working back in Indiana again. We've done it for years and years, and it's great to be back. I've seen a lot of familiar faces, right,
Yep.
over last month or so, and so it's been great for me. And again, we're going to be getting out and touching base. So look forward to that.
Yep. Feel free to reach out. Sean, we'll pass it back to you.
Likewise, looking forward to working with you. So here, just a few things, a couple of slides to wrap up, but to mention the collection. So going back to this, the collection cycle, we want to make sure that we work with local government, right? We don't have eyes on all the parts of the state, the southern part or northern, making sure that there isn't any flooding and or snow. So just making sure those ground conditions are what we need for a successful program, and that's where I've been able to reach out and use text folks on the weekend. So we're going to be I'm going to be collecting my list and seeing who's willing to work with us on these collections, and it's but anyway, that's a little bit about that. And then also talk about the aerial surveys team. So we have the team, they go through and they review the seam lines, they look at the bridge decks, as Brian and Ryan mentioned, the total balance between the images and just overall image quality. So and then also they'll be looking at that bare earth DEM that will be provided for the team for review. And here, let's just talk about a few lessons learned. So from for the orthoimagery program from 21 to 24, what I've learned is that we want to make sure for the acquisition and availability. So making sure that the assets are ready, available, and and plentiful. So being having those aircraft up and ready. It seems like I've learned that Valentine's Day seems to be the magic start date. I don't know, but and really that goes back to that 30-degree sun angle requirement to meet the specifications. So that's when we sort of get enough hours in the day that it makes sense to start putting an aircraft up in the sky. For managing the risk and environmental factors. So, we know we're going to have flooding. We know we're going to have snow. And that's, again, where if we can work with you to identify, what the ground conditions are, we won't be collecting imagery unnecessarily. We won't have to go through that QC. And that helps build that steady streamline of not having then to go back and recollect for a specific area, because that recollect takes away from the opportunity to collect new imagery that's going to be necessary, right? So we want to eliminate those reflights as much as possible, and that's yeah, the communication and stakeholder management. So yeah, keeping the partners appraised of the process. You know, for local government, for our state agencies, for the U.S. Geological Surveys. So we're going to have a much bigger lift on communicating with partners this time around at the various levels. We also are going to be proactively measuring and troubleshooting. So just making sure that we anticipate trouble spots that may come up. So either in the collection, the processing, delivery, kind of just managing and identifying those as we move through the program. Processing data quality. So we've mentioned a lot about that. That is so critical to providing and streamlining this process. So well documenting the checks, making sure that we provide the necessary data. So if we have bridge decks, so supplying that. If we have cell towers, let's provide that so the cell towers don't get clipped off. All these data sets that we can provide and remove the opportunity for future call outs is just really critical in streamlining. So that I guess I pretty much already flowed into maintaining that pipeline for delivery. So anyway, I can't talk enough about those various pieces, but. All right, so this is what we've all been waiting for. All right, at least I suspect some of you. Let's talk about the opportunities for additional products. So the big one is going to be taking that 6-inch base product and moving it to a 3-inch. So we have the opportunity within the tier that the county or community is located in to buying up in cycle. So we've heard of that as an in cycle buy up. Or if there's an opportunity, for a county that's not in that specific tier. So in the, for this next, for 2025, it's going to be somebody in the blue or the yellow on the east or western side of the state, if they're interested in acquiring imagery in that cycle. So, and then we also have, will provide us in their response to the RFP was a optional product. So we have contours is probably the most, but sought after. Although we do have a long list, and that's where we can work with you and others in your organization to identify additional products. So again, what's important is that if we're interested in buying up something during the acquisition, so for example, the 3-inch buy up, that needs to be identified rapidly, or prior to collection and laying out the flight lines for the project. And then the items like contours and other derived products, those can come along afterwards, after the data has been collected. And so anyway, again, working with contacting me, working with Wolpert, and developing these the additional products that may be desirable for your organization. Brian, would you like to add anything?
If you have any questions, let us know. If specifically you want to looking at something that's not listed there, just reach out and we can have that conversation. And I see that Joanne has her hand up though. Before we let Brian talk, let's hear what Joanne has.
Are you guys taking questions now or late? Should I wait till later?
We can go now. The next slide is just the Menti poll again. So if we need to go back, we can.
I can wait till later if you guys want to go to the poll, and I've got a list of questions, just a few questions.
Goody. I'm so excited.
Let's go, Joanne.
Okay. My first question, going to the very first slide, and I think I misheard this, was the 25 points per meter for LiDAR base product. That's the base. You mentioned 8 points per meter, which is normal, quote unquote normal for this, but is the base 25 points per meter? I just want to confirm
The
that.
base
That's
is
not a
25
buy-up.
points per meter. No, that is not.
Okay, so that's base
So-
25 points per meter.
So that's
Okay.
why we didn't even have, so the idea was when we scoped this, work for LiDAR and elevation, that, we wanted to provide communities something that, that would would benefit them. So, for imagery, jumping from 6-inch to 3-inch, that's, a desirable, thing that we found, right? And likewise for LiDAR, for utilities perhaps, or other, types of, analysis, what is a higher resolution? We chose that kind of 25 points per meter as the buy-up. Well, Wolpert removed that, buy-up option from all of you. So by saying that, the base specification is going to be 25 points per meter.
Okay,
So-
great. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that answered that one. So going up to this chart that you have here for the buy-ups for 3-inch ortho, there's a range, correct? You're going to go by population or not population, sorry.
It's by square miles.
By square mile. Okay, so
Yeah.
that we'll have to figure out, work with you guys, figure out, say what Hamilton County would be at this.
No.
Yes.
Question then for the contours as well. Would those go by the square miles as well, or is that
Yeah.
is
So
that
what
the fee
we
right
have-
there that we're looking
yeah,
at?
we have many different prices, basically two price points, one at the 400 square miles and greater, and one at the 36 square miles up to 399 square miles. So the Ryan, would you like to talk a little bit about this?
So Joanne, your county, we're not gonna go in and look at if anybody's on the line from Ohio County, for example. They're all gonna be treated as a county. So that price, the pricing that you're seeing up here is for the counties. And then I'm sorry for all the municipalities that are out there. We decided that would be a little bit more complex. So like, I like to, Brian, you want to take this and continue on with that a little bit further?
So Joanne, these prices that you see, like for 2 foot and 1 foot, that's assuming a countywide coverage, right? So that's just saying that it's like the imagery, right? We assume that if you're going to do 3-inch across, the county, it's going to be the entire county. Same with the contouring, and that's just the cost per square mile based on the countywide coverage. I don't know if that helps, Joanne.
Possibly.
So like 1 foot contouring, right? So you would
Right.
take your square miles of your county times $70.58. Yep.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. I didn't know if you have
Yeah.
had a different price for but this makes sense now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the difference is, I want to point out those first two lines. So the in-cycle 3-inch orthoimagery and the out-of-cycle 3-inch. So what the state is doing, Wolpert provided the cost for at $140 per square mile for an in-cycle. So the aircraft are already in the air. It's just a matter of developing a different flight planning mission for that 3-inch buy-up, and so to take that into consideration, it's $140 per square mile. What the state is doing is we are subtracting and contributing our base statewide cost per square mile to that. And so we're subtracting the $39, round up to $40 per square mile for every in-cycle collection at 3-inch. So if that
Right. No, yeah, and that's good, Sean. And one other point, is this co-collection, to everyone out there listening, the co-collection is really what provides us the ability to get the price down as low as it is. And that's because, we're flying the aircraft once, right? We're collecting both the imagery and LiDAR at the same time. So it really, in a lot of sense, it eliminates one of the missions, right? That we don't have to send up an aircraft again to collect one or the other. It's done one time.
So, yes, Dave, to answer your question, yeah. So the in-cycle collection cost per square mile would be that $100.66 with that $40 savings per mile.
There's another question in the chat from Max. For 2025 counties, what is the deadline for resolution buy-up decisions?
I'm going to punt that to the Wolpert team. How late are you willing to? Yep.
Well,
employ
yeah.
somebody.
Oh yeah, no, good question. And we know budgeting cycles, vary throughout, right, for counties and municipalities. I mean, we're comfortable knowing, here's the beauty, right? We're going to be flying the imagery and set resolution already, right? So, I mean, I would say the fall would be kind of our ideal cutoff, right? So maybe October-ish would be good to know, at least a verbal commitment at that point while we work out the legal details. Sure, Max. You're welcome. I think Garrett has his hand raised.
Yeah, so
Sure.
I got a question about the LiDAR data. Will the download be similar to how the current 3DEP downloads are available, where you can download them on a county basis, that DEM?
Yeah, you're asking a lot of good future questions. We're working out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, I removed the slide that was going to talk about this, but Indiana has moved our orthoimagery infrastructure to an AWS open data container. So what that means is that Indiana does not have to foot the bill for storage and for egress, nor do the users that want to go about accessing that data. So the AWS open data team has authorized us to host the LiDAR products in this same environment, and Indiana's going to be so we're going to be it's going to be placed in us in our open data container, and we'll have tools built in then for accessing all the products.
Okay, great, thanks. And just to confirm, so the LiDAR data that will be flown, there's no buy-up for that. That LiDAR data will be available for download as part of the state initiative, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that LiDAR data will be going through the QA/QC process that Wolpert will be taking care of, correct?
Wolpert, the DOT, the state, and USGS.
Okay. So I guess my question is with the contours then, is if that data is available to download, can you go through some of the benefits? Because I know this will be questions that will get brought up on my end at certain counties, is the benefits of purchasing the buy-up of the contours through Wolpert and not generating them on our own through the geospatial tools we have available with the DEM. So what would be those benefits on buying up to get them provided instead of just generating them through the DEM that we'd be provided that would be of no cost?
Yeah, I mean, I can feel that, guys. So, I mean, part of the benefits, right, of us generating the contours as opposed to a county. Now, we're not saying you can't do it. Of course you can. But one of the things that we take advantage of, right, in-house is we look at anything in 3 dimensions, right? So, not that you guys can't look at things, and look at your topology and things like that, but we're going to, incorporate the 3D components, of any break lining that is necessary, any of the data sets themselves, you know, the sheer magnitude of the LiDAR, right? And trying to ingest that to generate a contour, right? It in itself can be a struggle. So, you know, something we deal with every day, you know, so dealing with the size of the data as well as obviously the familiarity we have using that 3D data set and how to manipulate, you know, correctly, you know, in the third dimension of how to then generate those contours. I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, it doesn't stop you guys from generating your own like you have been, but we try to bring in that added component, right? To make sure that, you know, from a standpoint, if we say it's plus or minus 6 inches or a foot, it's going to meet that anywhere.
Gotcha. I appreciate that.
Sure.
We have a follow-up question from Joanne in the chat about that. She is asking whether the state would QA/QC the contours that are produced.
Yeah. So the state of Indiana has been working with our coastal program folks up along Lake Michigan, and they've been acquiring the LiDAR QL1 base product at 8 points per meter, and they've also been receiving contours. They have been, you know, checking over that bare earth surface, although they haven't. I haven't deployed them in that manner to review the contours. I think, you know, that, you know, for us, it's looking at that, making sure that bare earth surface is accurate, and the contours will follow along, you know, as a sub, you know, with that, if that's been checked. So we can certainly you know, consider that as an option if that's of interest, but it hasn't been you know, so far.
And there's another question from Tom. He was asking whether they could. He was asking if the price for the 3-inch was for the entire county, or whether they could piece the county up into certain areas. I responded that we have another cost per square mile for cities and towns, so that would be an option for those smaller areas than the county. And then he asked about where he can find that number. And does it have to be just a city or a town, or can we specify certain areas? So I'll let you answer that, Sean.
Yeah, great question. So no, it does not have. We mentioned county, but really it's based on the square miles. So it's at 36 square mile to 399, and then you know, 400 square miles on up over the price points. And I, you know, will speak to for Woolpert, you know, although I think, you know, Woolpert will work with us on yeah, and you to provide you know, custom, you know, a quote for your specific, you know, geography and areas of interest. Yeah. And yes, we do allow work with counties that have a multi-resolution you know, area of interest. So if you're happy with some at 6 and some at 3, or, you know, we happy to accommodate those needs.
And we have one other question, and I think I've gotten to them all. This is from Conrad. He is asking whether we will see data produced in NATRF 22, or whether this will all be in NAD 83. I'm going to probably punt that to Woolpert. I think that's the right place, but Sean, feel free to speak up too.
Ryan, do you want to? Yeah, Ryan, you
sure,
want to
I can try. Right now, we're still debating what will happen, but I believe that the way that we're going to work this is going to be that we work with the USGS, and they have their requirements to get into the 3DEP program or the national map, and then we'll make sure that that also aligns with the state, because I will say, having done USGS projects before, they are inclined and to sometimes change that to something that is absolutely not usable for the state. So for example, there was a wonderful experiment that was producing all of their data in Albers, which we then immediately had to produce everything in a state plane for, or a UTM zone for a state. So it's still in debate, but Sean, does
Yeah.
that feel
Yep.
like a pretty accurate answer?
That's what we're going to be
Likely-
working. Yeah. So for orthoimagery, we'll be defining that as we have in the past, and for the LiDAR, working with USGS to making sure that we meet their specifications and also meeting our local Indiana needs. And that's where both products are going to be in Indiana State Plane, East and West spatial reference.
Yeah, and just one other comment about that. I mean, the NGS, they had the hope of having it in place, right? And it just seems like it keeps getting pushed back
Yeah.
a little further and further. So I instruct people as Ryan does to stay with, the majority of what your data's in already, right? To push it, and it's not yet defined 100% yet. It's a little scary. So I totally agree with what Sean stated.
Yeah, once that gets integrated, that new spatial reference gets integrated into the tools and applications. But yeah, for this program, what we set now is going to persist through the rest of the program. We will not be changing. That's something that well, going back to that consistency, right? We don't want to be swapping stuff like that out in the middle of the program. Okay. Any other questions? Really good.
I think that's it from the chat.
Do we
Let's
want to go
see.
back over to the Minty poll really quickly?
Yeah.
Give people a couple more minutes to grab that. I did put it in the chat for you if you'd missed that earlier. So if you go to menti.com, there's 3 quick questions for you to take.
All right.
That gives
Looky there.
Sean a great idea of who's interested in what. So right.
Looks like we got a few 3-inchers
Yep.
out there that
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
I want to know
Yeah.
who's interested in sub 3-inch. That's
sub
that's
3-inch.
yeah.
And I'd like
Yeah,
to
all right.
put it out there for today. Sorry, this is Marianne Cardwell with IGIO. We do have a very attractive price to go to 3-inch for the entire state. We don't have the funds as an office to do that. But if there's enough interest and enough parties can come together, that might be something that we could do. So if you are part of an organization that might be able to contribute to a statewide buy up to 3-inch, please reach out to Sean to kind of get that discussion going. We are talking to some state agencies as well and some other stakeholders, but at this point, that's not the plan to upgrade to buy up at 3-inch for the whole state. But it's tantalizingly close, I guess.
Good way to describe it. Yeah.
Beauty of co-collect.
Yeah. So here, let's look at the importance of various classifications. So buildings looks like is king. Vegetation is in a close second. Road surface, electric utility, and rail. And that's where with this 25 points per meter, we're approaching that kind of point density for utility. So that's.
Do you want to share that with everybody so we can see that really quickly?
I'm sorry.
Instead
I
of
had it
the
on my screen.
no, that's why I
Yep.
said something because I always
Oh,
do that too.
There we go.
Sorry.
Yep. Apologize. So yeah, there's the results for the orthoimagery. But yes, we have 13 results for 3-inch and 6 for 6-inch. So, and yes, moving on to the next survey there, we had buildings. It's number 1, vegetation number 2, and road surface electric. So, and that's what's really exciting about again this higher density for is it's going to be coming close to really helping. Well, we can certainly identify utility poles and wires. So there's.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that.
And all right, well. That's interesting. So always looking, we've had this survey out there a few other places, but yeah, dynamic download tiles, download those county mosaics. That's interesting, and the poor cache service. That doesn't look as necessary as I thought. So,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, and that going back to the talk about those dynamic services, it's really neat to see that, because that's where we don't have to re-render the imagery to that visual product. We can just toggle a switch and let the computer do the work on that renderer on the fly. So if you want to see the bare a stretched DM, you can see that grayscale looking map. Or if you want to see a colorized hillshade, just flip the switch and you can see it. If you want to see the color infrared, you can just flip the switch. You don't have to go into the settings or pre-generate an image product for that. So anyway, well, we are at the top of the hour.
Yeah, one we got. Looks like Joanne raised her hand again. Just Joanne.
Hello again.
Sure,
Yeah, regarding this slide here, this question, I thought it'd be maybe just suggestion next time you have this Menti poll available for folks at another webinar or whatever. This would be handy to have as a multi answer. Does that mean like
that's
multi
true.
input? Because
Yeah.
I could have chosen at least 3 other or 2 other options there, for at least for me, from our county. So just wanted to let you know.
Good
Joanne,
point.
I think you would have enjoyed the internal conversations about the wording of this imagery, of
Oh,
this
really?
question, and whether it could be a single question, a single answer, multiple choice, or ranked. And really what we wanted to see was, what is the biggest thing you really
Right,
absolutely
yeah.
need?
Yeah.
But
I
yes,
chose
it's
the
been fun.
download tiles one for this just because, but I would have chosen, like I said, 2 others of those. So thank you.
Well, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thanks
All right.
everybody for joining again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, so please reach out to us if you have questions or if you'd like additional information. This is recorded and will be available. We'll also have the slide deck available, so if you'd like to show that to other coworkers that were not able to make it, you can do that as well. So thanks again for your time. We're really looking forward to this program and working with Wolpert and our partners.
Look forward to it also. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.